Hi again, it's Joey with eGeniuses. So today I want to talk about data recovery. I want to talk about hard drive crashes and what causes them, what different types of hard drive crashes are there, and what you can do about it. So it all depends. There's different levels. Let's start off with the most common problem is when the computer is not shut down properly. What happens is when it's shutting down, it's actually writing to the hard drive, and if you shut it down at that time, it might be writing data and you're not allowing it to complete the write. So that's the worst time really to interrupt the computer. So a lot of times it happens with laptops. Somebody's in a rush, so they need to go somewhere and they're waiting for the computer to shut down, so they just hold down the power button and then it completely just cuts the power. So that's a common problem, and what usually has to happen in order to fix that particular problem is that you have to run some kind of scan disk, because it's not too bad, because it usually has to do with the file allocation table, which just means that the computer keeps track of how the data is structured. So when you cut it off at that point, it needs to kind of figure out where stuff is at that point. So I mean that's a quick something that you can fix pretty quickly. You can just run scan disk. So that's not too bad. The second type is if you drop the hard drive, but it's not dropped too badly, or maybe it's jarred while it's moving. And what happens is sometimes, well, let me go back. The hard drive works because there's magnetic on and off switches. Right? Now the computer works in binary code, so it's either on or off. Now you know that when you drop something that's magnetic, a lot of times it loses some of its magnetic charge because it's dropped. You can go into some magnetic theory to find out about that. But basically, on and off switches aren't working properly, and the computer is not able to read the data. So what you need to do is run something like I'm running here. Okay, so this program is called SpinWrite, and what it does is it detects which sectors are bad, and it tries to recover it by making sure that things are on or off, not anywhere in between. So you'll see that it's scanned through, and some of them have an R next to it, which stands for recovered. So right now it's processing the drive. So this is a cool program. I also like to use one called HDD Regenerator. Now keep in mind that these programs sometimes take a while to complete. By a while I mean it could take up to a day, 2 days, 3 days, depending on the size of the drive and how many bad sectors there are. Okay, just to clarify my point about the data being either on or off, what I mean is the computers work in binary code, so you can compare it to these light switches, either on or off. That's it. So this is how the computer understands data, either on or off, on or off. And when the hard drive gets messed up, sometimes what happens is that this switch is somewhere in between, and the computer doesn't know whether it's on or off because it's not definite. So what you'll have is, instead of on or off, you'll have, so it's not sure, is it on or is it off? It's somewhere in between, maybe it's dim. So try SpinWrite or HDD Regenerator. Okay, so we've gone over a few different types of hard drive crashes. One where you can recover it just by telling the operating system to restructure the file system. And so that one's the easy one. The middle one, the second one that we talked about, is when the data is not specified. So when the computer can't tell whether it's a 0 or a 1, and then you can use SpinWrite or HDD Regenerator to fix that. And then the third kind, which is usually the worst kind, is a hardware failure. So there's different types of hardware failures that can happen. One is called a hard drive crash, and that's when think about it like a turntable. You know, the turntable, it comes out and it starts reading a part of the turntable. Now what happens is that arm that's supposed to come out, it's messed up. So it can't, you'll hear it click. Usually if your hard drive's clicking, that's what that means. Another type of hardware failure is if that needle were to scratch the entire record, using the same analogy, if that needle was to scratch the entire record, then that would be pretty bad. You'd have parts of the record that you couldn't play, and that's the same thing that happens with these hard drives. They get scratched and they can't read part of it. So those are nearly impossible to recover from. The one where you're having the hard drive clicking, when the arm is stuck, usually what happens is the arm is stuck, or something happens to it. What usually has to be done is you have to usually send out the hard drive, send that to a place that's specialized in that, and they take it into a clean room. And what they do is they actually take the disk. So let's just pretend it's part of the hard drive. They take this disk out of the hard drive, put it into another hard drive where the arm is working, and they're able to read the data. So you'll hear terms such as clean room, and what that means is that they have to actually take it to a room where there's absolutely no dust, because if a speck of dust gets on the platter, then it'll cause the drive to be unreadable also. So those are the three things that you have to look for. The first two, a lot of times it can be repaired by your computer technician, your local repair shop. The third one, where it's a hardware failure, usually you have to send it out. We have a company that we deal with that we like, so if you have any more questions, feel free to give us a call at 877-MY-GENIUS, that's 877-694-3648, or you can visit our website at e-geniuses.com, or you can email us at info@e-geniuses.com. So I hope you enjoyed that, hope you found it informational, and I'll see you again.